Well, hey folks, how y'all doing? Fat Guy Flies RC. Well, another plane, believe it or not. This is actually a Christmas present from my precious wife, and now I'm getting around to getting her out of the box and getting her going. Now this is the X-Fly Twin 40 F-15. This is the desert camo. I think that's what I asked for. I hope that's what she got me. Either one will be fine. Well, we'll find out when we open the box, won't we? All right, now. Has a 710 or 28 inch wingspan. It's 38.6 inches long. Two 40 millimeter EDF 12 bladed fans. And it has a 1413, the motors with a KV of 5500 times 2. Two 20 amp ESCs. And the center of gravity is 78 millimeters from the leading edge root where the wings touch the fuselage. Okay, fixed landing gear. I did, however, my wife, in her precious wisdom, went ahead and sprung for the additional nose suspension gear, excuse me, for the nose. Yeah, she very cleverly said, if I were to buy you one of these, and if this option was available, would you want it? I'm like, well, yes. And so we did. She's going to run runs on 4S only, 1300 up to a 2600, and actually I've got a 2600 charging right now as we speak. All right, let's open up and let's see what's in the box. Hopefully there is a desert camo F-15 in here. All right, yes, we are recording. All right, got my handy dandy knife here. Hopefully I won't be cutting myself with it, as I'm more dangerous to myself than anybody else. Yes, desert camo. All right. Should only need a 2 millimeter hex drive, and that's exactly what you need to put the plane together. Okay, everything is packed in here like you can drop it off a truck. So let's go ahead and pause. I'll get everything out of the box and we'll go over the parts. Alrighty, we got everything out of the box. Everything's laid out. You have one bag of goodies, and you even get the two, like I said, it's a 2 millimeter hex drive is what you need to put the whole entire plane together with. And you even get the little Allen wrenches that you need to do that with, and grub screws. All the screws that you need are in here, okay? You will need a small Phillips head screwdriver, just so you're aware. You're going to need that, which if you've got models, you're going to have at least one small Phillips head screwdriver somewhere hanging around. Okay, now got both wings halves. Now these type of connections, okay, you're already hooked up. You see this a lot typically with a micro plane or a micro, and all you're going to do if you need to adjust this is that bend point. You'll take a pair of pliers or your fingers and you're going to squeeze that in or out to adjust it, but typically pretty much already there anyways. No adjustment needed on these because these are going to be controlled ball link with traditional clevises and control rods. Okay, got your nose cone, which held on with a magnet in the very front. Your rudders are already installed, but they're fixed. This does not have yaw control. You do have a steerable nose wheel, but you don't have yaw control. This is a bank and yank plane. Now, one thing I did notice I'm not too happy about is they don't have any way of getting the hatch off other than digging out with your fingernails. All right, you got a nice tongue and groove sort of hatch, okay, but you're going to have to grab the hatch up here. What I'll be doing is what I call my antenna mod, is when I take a zip tie and I will poke a zip tie through here, lop it off, poke it through here, and it'll hang out about that far, and it'll look like an antenna. And then I'll make the end of the zip tie, the little part of the zip tie that I break off, and I'll run it through the loop within itself, make like a T, and glue that in place, and that gives me something to grab a hold of without having to dig at the back of the battery hatch with my fingernails. You have an XT60 to control both the motors, your ESCs. Nice hard wooden plate to put your Velcro. You have two nice honking pieces of Velcro to put down. Tiller control for your nose, and then all your servo leads are already labeled for you and already up front here where I'll be putting the receiver. And as a special treat, as after the build, I'm going to do another video doing an updated video on how to do complete spectrum forward programming to include mounting the receiver, setting it up, binding it to your spectrum protocol transmitter, and then how to go through forward programming, getting safe working, and then I will talk about the AS3X Plus and how that works in a complete from installation receiver all the way to flying the plane. And we'll be doing the maiden hopefully tomorrow on this, but that's going to be a separate video all to itself. The unbox and build, which is this one, will be now. The next video will be the complete and updated AS3X programming with forward programming and nose wheel gyro tutorial, with highlighting, also talking about the AS3X Plus features that is in this receiver. And then they'll do the maiden. So we get 3 videos in a matter of a few days, maybe a 4th on this plane. Alrighty, so let's get to the build. Alright, like I said, you're going to need a 2mm hex drive. I highly suggest you have yourself a little magnetic trays. You get these anywhere. Home Depot sells them, Lowe's, Walmart. Just these little magnetic trays, O'Reilly's, auto parts store. Just get you some little magnetic trays. They will save your life. You're going to need a Phillips head and a 2mm hex drive, or you can use the included tools. It's easier just to have your own tools. It just makes life so much easier. Take your control rods, which is for both the elevators, put them off to the side, and then dump everything in that magnetic tray. Okay? Now, the first thing we're going to do is get ourselves a plane stand. Okay, let's see if I got a free one. Well, I'll just use a small one here. Okay? We're going to take our plane stand, take our model, we're going to turn it upside down, and we're going to pay attention putting on the horizontal stabilizers, otherwise known as elevators. Okay, so there's the back of the plane. Now, you look on your horizontal stabilizers, these spin rods or shafts that they're on have a flat spot on them. Hope you can see that. There's a flat spot. Okay? Well, the grub screws are these little black screws. If you don't know what a grub screw is, think of like a weevil. Okay? I think we're going to use grub screws, or we're going to use... Let me look at the instructions real quick. I think... No, that's probably going to be for the nose steering. Pretty sure you're going to use... Okay, no, we're going to use regular screws. All right. In your kit, and these are hold on. Pause for just a minute. I'm going to make sure I give you the right information. Okay, I just want to make sure that I was doing it right, okay? In your kit, you get 3 of these little black screws that have a Phillips head on them, okay? That have a flat, they're flat, okay? They're black, and they're Phillips head on this end, and then they're lopped off. This is what you're going to be putting in your, to hold on your vertical stabilizers, okay? And that flat part is going to go on that flat part of that shaft, okay? There's obvious where it goes. Hole right there, okay? And this side that has the control arm is going to be on the bottom of the airplane, bottom of the aircraft. Make sure you got the flat part up towards you. So otherwise you're going to have a dickens of a time. Okay. Okay. And take one of them screws. Now this is the one where we use the Phillips head. Maybe. By the way, you get an extra of all the screws. One extra of each screw. So, kind of support that the best you can. Once it finds its footing, you'll know it. That's why I like these adjustable plane stands like this. That way I can kind of finagle how I want to hold something. Try to support anything in the back behind it if you can. Okay, that should hit that flat spot now, and that should not be able to come up out of there. All right, now if it's rubbing too tight, then back off just about a quarter turn. Okay, there. Okay, that's not going to come out of there. Flip it over and do the same side. Same thing on the other side. Well, you have to be able to see what I'm doing too. Okay. Remember, you're going to have the flat side up towards facing you. So slide that in there. Okay, and friction's going to hold it in. Okay. Okay. Here it's locked in. That ain't coming out. And those are now free floating. Okay, so we don't have to worry about them now. Okay, now we can turn our attention putting the wing on. First and foremost, take your wing spar. Okay. Obvious hole, fish it through. Okay, and should probably slide right through there. If you look, got your servo connection hanging out here. Might have to dig in there, pull it out. It's got them locking servo leads on there. That's what those locks are on either side. Pay attention. You got the yellow, red. Okay, the yellow is the signal. Okay, that's what tells the servo what to do. And then the dark and the black or the red is your negative positive for your power. The signal, the yellow is the signal. So that's why it's imperative that you hook to get the polarity right. Otherwise, your servo is not going to work. Okay, and it's going to just sit there, and you're going to think, how come my stupid model doesn't work? Well, because you don't have the polarity right. Okay, this is kind of awkward. Try to get this in an angle then you can see it. All right, make sure you put, okay, this is correct. The servo side should be towards the belly of the plane. And these leads here, servo leads, you're just going to hook up this, like I say, yellow to yellow, black to black, light to light, dark to dark. It's all, no matter who makes the servo, where it comes from, it's always going to be light to light, dark to dark. And both them little arms now on that servo lead will lock into place and make it so that servo won't come undone. Sometimes you feel them kind of click in, otherwise they just kind of smash in. But as long as it's in there, you know it's in there. Okay? And then you want to fish that servo lead back in that same hole of the fuselage that you just pulled it out of, because you don't want any wires pinched. Okay? Don't want any wires to be pinched at all. Fish that in there like that. And then push your wing on into place. Okay. Now your spars is now stopping at the natural stopping point. Okay. This is where you're going to take your two 10 millimeter, and they're the silver screws. Okay. That you're going to use the tool or your 2 millimeter hex drive. It's the silver screws. These are 10 millimeter, and you've got two places on the wings that you're going to be attaching. Okay? Let me see how I can grab this in such a way to where you can see it right there. Now I'm going to make sure that's in there. I'm going to fish that in. It should have a very obvious connection. There it is. You'll know it when it gets bite. Okay, hits bottom, it hits bottom. Don't force any further than that. Nice, snug, and stop. Nice, snug, and stop. Okay. Sometimes you have to put a little bit of pressure on it to get it to finally thread. But once it gets there, it gets there. Okay. Okay. Now, that wing is on there. Okay. Repeat the same process to the other side. Okay. Going to kind of fish the wing on the wing spar. That'll kind of hold the wing for me. Hold that in place. Meanwhile, dropping my instructions. And how am I going to hook these up? Light to light, dark to dark. Light to light, dark to dark. It's obvious. When you're doing this yourself, you'll look at it, you go, oh, okay, well that makes perfect sense. It's hard for me to zoom in on something and film and build all at the same time. I know my usual complaints. If I could convince it's good enough that my wife buys me airplanes and then films at the field for me. Asking her to also come down and help film with these, I'm already pushing it as it is. So this is, you all just got to put up with just me. I'm not at, okay, that one clicked in, but remember, it's always light to light, dark to, yeah, we're not real swift here. Fat guy flies RC. We have accidents happen in the man cave. I've had a fire in here. I've dropped planes from the ceiling. I didn't have them secured well and hit me in the head. Fortunately, that hadn't been on camera, but it has happened. It's been funny if it had happened on camera. Fish that in there. Man, it's imperative that you do not pinch any wires, okay? You've got that cavern there. Just fish that in. Just get your finger up in there. Push that in there. Make sure no wires are getting pinched. Okay. All right. Luckily, it's a small enough of a model. It's not like a great big heavy thing. Okay. And kind of push that. Kind of get a little leverage this way now. That's another reason I like hex drives, because they'll kind of hold themselves in place. Now, one thing you can do is if you got one that's not wanting to line up right, get one of the two. Chances are one of the two are going to line up good. Get the one lined up and in there, and then you can use it as a pivot point to push the other side in. I've done that many times. That's a pro tip. I don't charge extra for that. Okay. Okay, that's in there. All right. See, now, if this one wasn't lining up, I could use this as a pivot point to push this side in. If that makes perfect sense at all. Okay. But that one seems to be going in there. There we go. Nice, tight, stop. Okay. That wing is on there. Those horizontal stabilizers are on there. Okay. Can put that on there. We can put, I'm not so sure I'm crazy about the gray nose, but hey, that's the way it came. Now we can turn our attention to the landing gear. Okay? All right. Now, the gear, notice how they're raked outwards. Okay? Pick up your plane, support it, and you're going to want these to rake towards the rear of the aircraft. Let me make sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what you're going to want to do. And you're going to want to rake outwards. Okay, that pops in like that. That should pop in like that. See? Okay. Now, the nose gear, we're going to use the upgraded gear. Yeah, I was right. They pop in. These are towards the front of the airplane. No. No, these are towards the rear of the airplane. Okay. The spring needs to be facing the spring. That round part needs to be facing the rear of the airplane. Or aft. Like that. Now, if you're not going to be taking these out, what you could do is put a little bead of hot glue or glue in there and hold them in place. That's entirely up to you. Okay, so instead of using the stock gear, which is perfectly fine, we're going to use the upgraded gear. Okay? Now, the upgraded gear, you have to pay attention to how long your shaft is, because you want to have this to be the same length. Okay? Pay attention to that little nub right there. That's important. That's going to come into play. In your kit with this, you get this shaft, okay? And you get a couple little grub screws. So you're going to end up with some extra grub screws. Go ahead and take that shaft out of there. Out of this little baggie. Okay. Should have already had this open for you, but I didn't. Okay. Lay that shaft aside. And these are the smaller, in the kit, in the main kit for the plane, you have a bigger and a smaller grub screws. These are the smaller grub screws. Go ahead and put them off to the side. Put them in to where you'll remember where they're at in your little magnetic tray. If I can get them to drop out of the tray, out of that baggie. Okay. All right. You're going to grab that shaft. Okay. On the shaft, you have two flat sides. Okay. Well, look what you've got here. You've got a hole on either side. So what does that tell you? That tells me that grub screws are going to go to that flat side on either side of that shaft. Okay? In this case, I'm going to use the smaller of the two Allen wrenches and those two smaller grub screws I just dropped out of that baggie. Okay? Put on the end of your, see? On the end. I'm going to grab that shaft. I'll grab the new gear. I'm going to screw that grub screw. Those little like little, they look about the size of a little black weevil, like it gets in your bread. Okay. And hopefully I'm starting to feel some bite there. Okay, there. I can feel it and I can't move that out. So that means I have screwed into, with that grub screw, into the one flat side of that. Then you got to kind of fish your little tool back, grab the other small grub screw. Okay, put it on the end of your tool. Okay, go to the other side and screw that in. Okay, and that makes that secure. That's locking in both sides of that shaft, locking this on there, and that way it will turn. Now, in the kit, you'll see a little white plastic washer. Okay, a little white plastic washer. Slide that on the top of that shaft. You would do the same thing if you're using the stock gear. Okay, this is where it's going to go. And the angled part, see how that's angled? Towards the rear of the airplane. Slide that whole assembly in. Should have already had your hatch off. Okay, now you're going to want to kind of put your finger, however way you can do that, to get a hold of that to where it doesn't slide out. What you can do at this point is take the model. See, I got to hold it with my fingers and put the model actually on the gear. Okay, and that will actually hold it in place. Now I got to tell you, I'm not real happy about how. Okay, I'm going to take that spacer out, that white spacer. I'm going to put this in here instead. Put it in there without it. Okay, and that still makes that model sit kind of high, but that's okay because that allows for the spring. See? Now, if you look in there, see the end of that shaft? See it kind of disappear there? See that red wire? See that thing poking in and out there? That's the end of that shaft coming up. Remember that flat spot that we talked about? Well, in your kit, you have this tiller arm. Okay? Well, what do you have on the end of that tiller arm? You have a hole. You've also got some big grub screws. So what does that tell you? That the grub screw is going to go through there and attach the flat spot on that tiller arm. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and assemble it, and then you can look and see what it looks like. Let me go ahead. This is where you're going to grab the larger of the two Allen wrenches, okay, that you have. Put the larger of the two of the grub screws. You know, it looks like you only get one of the big grub screws. Okay. Okay, I guess it is the smaller screw. Actually, it is the smaller tool that puts it on that grub screw. Okay, and on that end of that shaft where that hole is, you see the whole thing, okay? On the end of the square is that hole. Go ahead and just put the grub screw in there. Just get it screwed in a few threads in to where it's held in place. All right, you just have to keep holding it in place and keep finagling with it until you get that grub screw to get bite on that flat part of that shaft. And then now, see when I turn it, see the servo moving? Okay. And now that will work with the shaft. See, I'm moving the servo. See? Okay. All right. And that's all you have to do to get that. Now you have to finagle with that back and forth. Now would be a good time. Put your Velcro in there. I like using Velcro. Other people like using shelf liner, but doesn't have a strap in there. So you're going to have to use Velcro. Okay, and I like using the hard Velcro in the plane. Okay, so that goes there. That goes there. Got a canopy somewhere. Okay, and that, folks, is the basic build of the F-15 camo from X-Fly Twin 40. Now normally you would go ahead and hook up your control rods for your elevators, but I like to do that when I do the radio setup because that way I'll know the servos are centered. So we'll include that with a radio setup. But that's still the basic build and assembly of the X-Fly F-15 Desert Camo. Now it does come with a bunch of snow step stickers that you can put everywhere. I don't have that kind of patience, and they're so small you're not going to see them anyways. So, sorry. But other than that, okay, that was the basic unboxing build of the X-Fly F-15 Desert Camo. Good looking plane, and hopefully get them made really soon. Next video will be the complete radio setup to include how to do forward programming, nose wheel gyro, and we'll talk about AS3X Plus in relation of what it means and how to use it. Okay? Thank you. Stay tuned for the next video. God bless y'all, and don't forget, Faye, family, and friends, and then X-Fly F-15, Desert Eagles, or, yeah, Desert Eagles. Bye.